Objection! Hello, every pony! Today, we conclude the epic three-parter that is the Storm of Zephyr Heights. Previously, we saw the storm continue to rain down on the city, forcing the citizens to evacuate, with Misty and Hitch fixing an old Zeppelin to escape it. Meanwhile, Zipp, Pipp, and Sunny brave the storm and discovered that it was originated by the long-lost city of Cloudsdale, where they were attacked by these flying pigs called Ark and Sunny. After taking shelter in a library, a message from the big giant head of Flash Magnus informs the girls that with magic returning, the weather factory has spun back up to life, generating the storm. We pick up immediately after, with the girls attempting to travel to the factory, all the while dodging the flying hedgehogs, which is almost impossible seeing as the city is lousy with them. We get a fun little chase sequence with Pipp and Sunny distracting the little devils with music and smoothies from a what? What is that, a play on chocolate? Flock as in flock of clouds? Seriously though, what does this mean? I haven't been this confused about food since Dalid Jelly.
Dalid Jelly? What the fuck is Dalid Jelly? What is a Dalid?
But anyway, back in Zephyr Heights, we see Misty continue to rebuild a Zeppelin. Once again, I love the confidence Misty exudes in this story, taking on an almost impossible task of restoring a vehicle from long ago in such a short amount of time, and using modern technology really shows her ingenuity and stalwart attitude to push herself to the limit to save her friends, adding that much more depth to her character. As Sunny and Pipp continue to deal with the Arkan, Zipp arrives at the weather factory where she comes across an Articuno? Oh no, Zipp, you need an Ultra Ball to capture that legendary Pokemon. No, actually, it's a blue lightning bird, so, blue Zapdos? Anyway, Pipp's singing helps to soothe the bird, but suddenly gets cut off, and thus the battle for the weather factory begins. As cool as that would be, we actually get a pretty sweet scene of Zipp reprising their family portrait song to move the nest, and it's nothing short of adorable. Zipp succeeds in shutting down the factory, but unfortunately, the storm has grown too large, and in a pretty clever transition, we see the art styles of Kate Sharon and Andy Price combined for a frame, with Hitch now looking slightly more detailed compared to the other ponies in the background. The duo lead the citizens on a daring escape from the city, braving the storm in their newly rebuilt Zeppelin.
Remember your brakes and switches. Get ready to flare it out.
He's all over the place. 900 feet up to 1,300 feet. What an asshole.
Zipp sees the ensuing chaos and berates herself for putting her citizens in harm's way. While no fault of her own, this is probably the lowest Zipp has ever felt. Powerless to stop the ensuing storm, the lives of every pony in Zephyr Heights hanging in the balance. The conflict keeps escalating, pushing our hero's resolve ever further as the danger increases. In watching Zipp see her world crumble around her and see her attempt to rectify the situation just makes this such an engaging story. The Pegasus does pull herself out of her rut and suddenly gets an epiphany as the gang enters the Wonderbolts Hall of Fame. And much like a lot of old Equestria's history, the idea of the Wonderbolts has also been lost to Pegasi, but it actually makes sense. With the split between the three races ages ago, the Pegasi would naturally want to disregard any and all connection to the old world, including the Wonderbolts, as its origins lie within the EUP, i.e., a time when Earth ponies, unicorns, and Pegasi had an alliance. Therefore, it makes sense that the recent generations of Zephyr Heights would have no knowledge of the Wonderbolt, seeing as it's basically been covered up. As for them still knowing what Cloudsdale was, well, admittedly, it's harder to erase the existence of a giant city in the sky made of clouds, so I still buy that some, including Zipp, would have knowledge of it. So while poking around the museum, the gang comes across Rainbow Dash?
Holy shit!
Well, okay, it's another hologram, which helps Zipp out giving an interesting revisionist history of the Pegasi, from the aforementioned EUP to learning how to cloudburst. Immediately upon absorbing the information, Zipp leaps into action, donning a nearby Wonderbolts outfit, and takes flight. And I gotta say, seeing Zipp in that outfit is just an awesome image. Meanwhile, back at the Zeppelin, lightning has punched a hole through the wall that has also managed to damage the autopilot. Quick, Hitch, you have to inflate it back before it's too late. Zipp dashes around the skies, bursting every cloud she can see, but luckily her friends are right by her side, and the sight of the three working together to diminish the storm is such an entertaining sequence. Not only seeing them dressed as Wonderbolts, but also them showing off the full extent of their flying abilities, all the while performing something that hasn't been done for hundreds of years. The Zeppelin suddenly plummets to the ground, and while Sunny and Zipp stabilize the ship, Zipp flies as fast as she can towards the front, but isn't quite fast enough until... Okay, that was awesome. If any pony was gonna be a successor to pulling off a sonic rain boom, it was definitely Zipp. She is one of, if not the fastest flyers in modern Equestria, and much like Rainbow Dash attempting to push herself to the limit to save her friends from certain doom, Zipp lays it all out and explodes her way to the ship. Awesome. She manages to slow the ship's descent, but sacrificing her own body staying under a little bit too long. The ship lands safely, but she is thrown violently into a heap.
And she's dead! The end!
No, other than a few bumps and bruises, every pony, including Zipp, is fine. With things calmed down, Pipp finds her sister back at the Wonderbolts Hall of Fame, leading to probably one of the most emotional moments of the whole arc, and maybe even all of G5. Zipp plays a recording of Rainbow Dash recalling her final days of flight, as Twilight will soon be permanently sealing away all the magic into the Unity crystals. Thus, Dash's future abilities to fly will become null and void. While the whole event wouldn't affect Earth ponies as much, unicorns and Pegasi will lose the one thing that makes them unique. As she states, flying just doesn't represent something special to her race, but is also an outlet that represents freedom and who she is as a Wonderbolt. Thus, losing flight is losing a large part of herself, to no longer be able to soar across the skies. And that's pretty depressing. But on a final bittersweet note, she leaves a message of hope to rally the next generation of Wonderbolts, should magic return one day. And honestly, I would say without a doubt, this is probably the most emotionally invested I've ever been with G5, ironically surrounding a G4 moment. We've been told multiple times in this series how devastating it was for every pony to lose magic, but for really the first time, we get an actual direct emotional response to the event. Seeing the pain of someone losing something that means so much to them, it's definitely a powerful moment. And thus the comic ends, hinting that Zipp is going to take Rainbow's words to heart and restart the Wonderbolts. So that was the Storm of Zephyr Heights arc. And besides the movie, this is probably the best thing to come out of G5. The story is epic. We finally got that character development of Zipp becoming a future ruler, and it was executed to perfection. The collaboration of art styles made the visuals so much more dynamic, each artist giving their own unique flair, and I felt invested the entire time. This was an amazing arc, and I can't recommend this enough. Thank you all for joining me on this wild ride through this series, and be sure to like and subscribe. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, and see ya!